welcome to another episode of Life Studied, your favorite figure drawing interview podcast. I'm here with my good friend Mairin-taj Caya.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm alright.
We've had a bunch of technical issues. Technical, and also I spilled an entire coffee, so...
Without getting to drink any.
That's okay. I can deal with that. I just felt bad that we have had a bunch of false starts this morning. But we're professionals, so we're going to make it work. It's okay.
Yeah.
So, we're probably going to have a slightly shorter episode because of all those issues. So forgive me if I rush a little bit. But I should mention our sponsors. So Pennsylvania College of Art and Design, which is where we are now. They are kind enough to sponsor the show. They provide a space and some funding. Specifically the illustration department, which I teach anatomy with Mairin-taj here. So if you're looking for an art school or just want to practice some new skills, they have a pretty extensive, I forget what they call it now, for like non-credit classes. So if
Continuing education?
Yeah, continuing ed, thank you.
Yeah.
So it's not just degree programs, you can come in and take a painting class, drawing class, cartooning, whatever, just experiment.
Yeah.
But it's also a pretty involved bachelor degree program, so check them out, look them up online. I'll put a link below in the description. And also our friends at Black Wing Pencil that give me pencils to draw with, so thank you to them. And you might hear kids in the background because we are in an art school, so forgive me if you hear anybody cracking jokes or laughing or doing something goofy. There you go, as if I'm cute.
Yeah.
It's a happy art school though, which is cool.
Yeah, it's got a nice hum and bustle to it.
Yes, yes. How are things with you? Everything good?
You know, I'm hanging in there.
Yeah.
Hanging in
Got a
there.
new haircut? Looks
Yes,
super fresh.
finally.
Nice.
Um,
So now only like 10% of your body weight is hair as opposed to the normal 20?
it's definitely, I'm lighter. I'm not dragging a lot with me. Yeah.
Sorry, I have a little bit of hay fever, so I'm trying not to laugh too much so I don't cough. I'm not sick, I promise. We got my boy tested and everybody's good. We don't belong here, basically. We should be on some tropical island somewhere where there's no pollen, or at least no fall pollen.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna try to redo here. We're gonna have a mulligan on this show because we recorded a show a couple weeks back where we talked about what should this look like when we're approaching figure drawing, and it was awesome. You were on fire. You had great input. And we had a different setup where we had two mics,
Yeah.
and for some reason your mic cut out. So
Yeah.
if you listen to the episode, it looks like I'm just talking to myself, which is not far from the truth, but it's not a good show. So I figured we'd give it another shot with the caveat that we don't really remember what we said because we don't plot these things out.
No. It's just a conversation, so I'm sure I'll try to come up with something, but I hope.
Yeah.
You know, there's pressure now. I don't know how good it's going to be.
No. You're great on the fly for this kind of stuff. So, I guess. So again, I'm always thinking about a potential audience out there for what we're explaining, right? The idea of going to a figure drawing class, maybe for the first time, and how intimidating that is and weird that is, and if you're not used to it, you and I take it for granted, but if you're not used to it, it's probably off-putting, right? And one of the issues is this sort of inherent competitive nature that people have, and do they get tied up in what this drawing is supposed to look like? Am I here for exercising, right? Or am I worried about what the thing looks like?
Right.
Am I sweating things like proportions for the sake of practicing them?
Yeah.
Or am I doing it because it has to look a certain way or it's not a good drawing?
Yeah.
So I guess those are the things I'm thinking about with this when I say, like, what should this look like?
Right. What should the practice look like?
Yeah, or just the drawing itself,
Yeah.
right? Like, it doesn't, I mean, there's a lot of figurative art that doesn't look like what you and I do.
Yeah.
And so how much of that is okay in the sort of figure drawing atmosphere of like an open drawing studio, right? Where
Right.
you traditional art school setup, right? Model on a stand, you on an easel or a drawing horse and just doing your thing. What should the drawing look like?
Yeah.
And so I would love to hear what you think while we do some drawing. So the setup for the show is that we talk. Mairin-taj is a professional model and artist. I'm just a professional scrub artist guy. And we've been doing this for quite a few years, and I think Mairin-taj is incredibly intellectually rigorous about how she thinks about art. So I am just trying to set this up so I can shut up and let her tell us. No, I'm just kidding. I shouldn't put too much pressure on her. But she'll be posing while I'm drawing, and we'll talk about art.
Yeah.
That's it. All right. So whenever you're ready.
2 minutes for.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That's good for you. So these will be rough, quick warm-up gestures. We're going to start at 2 minutes, which is kind of standard practice. You start with short poses to warm up, and then you gradually add time to the poses. Shorter poses allow for more expression and obviously less detail. And all right, you ready?
Yes.
All right, so what should this look like? I'm thinking, my gut says that you and I would probably put a little more pressure on us than ourselves than the average person. But I wonder, what would you tell a person who's just walking in the door and drawing a model, maybe for the first time? What should they expect when they start?
Well, I think that reminds me kind of what I experience with the students all the time in our classes is they tend to have a lot of pressure on themselves with getting something to look a certain way, and I think that tends to translate in their minds as, this has to look recognizable, this has to look clean, this has to look finished.
Yeah.
And I say that it seems like the younger students tend to put that kind of pressure on themselves, or just anyone who's more new to the practice,
right,
whatever their age. Versus people who are more experienced, again, whatever their age, tend to move over time more away from that and more towards, let's see how sloppy I can get.
Yeah.
Let's see how
okay. Yeah.
Let's see how relaxed I can get. Let's see, it's like the more experienced you are, the less pressure you put on yourself.
So the more experienced you are, the less you're thinking about the thing and more about how you're making the thing.
Right, or the less you're thinking about how people are going to judge your thing.
Yeah.
And
nobody wants their thing judged.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. And I mean that's a very understandable concern when you're new to a figure drawing class,
Yes.
or you're new as an artist in general.
Yeah.
You want to show that you're there for a reason, you have a reason to be there.
Right.
And that in visual art, that is seen through the actual work.
So you think there's an actual pressure to feel like you are allowed to be in this space because you could draw a certain way?
Well, not necessarily a certain way, but I think a lot of less experienced people seem to, you want to prove yourself a bit.
Yeah.
Hey, I have a sense of drawing, even if it's a unique style. I know what I'm doing, or I can create results that prove my worthiness of being here. I think that worthiness is a concern for people.
Oh man,
even
that's heavy.
Let's go
Holy
deep
moly.
here. But for myself, with these students that we work with in particular, I think I always want to try to translate to them, and we do. We kind of articulate this as best we can, but okay, relax, take a breath, step back. Don't get all uptight in the paper's face.
Yes.
What else?
Loosen up.
Loosen up. Yeah.
You're often yelling at them stop with the chicken scratch, right?
Right. Yeah. No chicken scratch. It's not going to help you learn what you're trying to learn. General loosen up, relax, take the pressure off. Tell yourself it's not going to be perfect. All of that. I think that's a big bundle of just whew, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. Just that last line, right? Tell yourself it's not going to be perfect.
Yes.
And give yourself permission to do that. The irony is that's when you start to see improvement.
Exactly. Yes. And it clicks for everybody in a different way, with a different phrase, or after a different number of hours spent trying to make it perfect. But there's a point where everyone kind of reaches that moment of, oh, wait a minute, I can ease up a little bit.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And that's seen in the work. That's seen in the process.
Yeah. I think that's really beautifully put, frankly. Like.
But I'm aware in saying that, like, it's easier said than done. It's easier said to be like, hey, just relax.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta do. Okay,
Yeah,
thanks.
yeah. I saw a meme once of it was an old washing machine, like the ones that you front load.
Okay.
And it was on fire or something, or it was smoking. I forget what that. It's been a while.
Yeah.
And it says your wife. And then there's a guy like throwing something into the thing, and it says telling her to calm down. And he throws it into the thing, and the thing just explodes and bursts into flames. And I'm saying wife because that was just the wording of the thing, but I remember thinking that's like anybody you tell to calm down when they're worked up, right?
Yes.
Like
yes.
it's not it's gender. It's truly not a gender thing. It's like I'm freaking out thing.
Yes.
And telling me to calm down.
It's not helpful.
Yeah, it's really not.
It's not medicine.
No, it's not medicine. Yes.
Yeah, I
Yes.
hear that. And we're both like fiery people saying that, so it's.
Oh God. Yeah. Don't you dare.
No.
Yeah.
So we
But-
empathize.
Yeah, but that I think you're onto something, right? Because telling them, I've mentioned that I think in the West we talk about getting in the zone, right? There's a Chinese version of it where they, my daughter told me what it is. It means something like try, not try.
Okay.
The
Right.
idea of like, you're almost not putting any effort into it, and that's how you end up putting effort into it.
Yes. That's kind of like our idea of the flow.
Yeah, that's it. That's the word. And you can't teach that, right?
No.
You can't.
It's practice. That's the thing. It's so hard to articulate this to the less practiced, but when you're more practiced, you're just trying to say, hey, the practice will get you to
What you want.
Yeah, the practice you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so to bring it to the subject, so you think that's sort of that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but does that mean the answer is that it doesn't have to look like anything? Like,
yeah, I think so. I think the more, should we keep doing twos?
Yeah, if you're okay with that.
I think the more when you're less experienced, I think the more you can take as much pressure off as possible, however that sort of translates for you, the better you will be in practicing showing up and doing the work.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Just like with anything, like going on a date, like the less pressure you put on yourself, the more you can show up authentically and get to know a person. But we're talking about, hey people, get to know the paper, get to know the medium you're using, get to know the subject matter and the process of working with it. So
I mean that's intimate as hell though, the way you're describing it, right? Because like it's not just I gotta show up and it's gotta look great. Now I gotta show up and get to know this medium, and I gotta what if she doesn't like me? Right. What if there's no compatibility? Yeah. Oh God, that's scary. Like if the sketchbook and you don't hit it off, you gotta quit drawing. No, you just try a different sketchbook.
Right.
That's okay.
Yeah. That's the thing, is like learning anything requires putting in time and being experimental, which requires not backing away from the mess and the failure and the uncertainty.
Right. Well, and using your metaphor, I think the more intimate you are with it, the more it's you, and the more you figure out how you are going to go about this thing.
Yeah.
As opposed to drawing like someone else or trying to mimic something you saw someone else do.
Right. Right. And in instruction, there's a lot of pressure in many classes that I've been in and seen anyway, that you gotta learn how to draw in the technique or in the way that is being taught.
Yeah.
And I want to be careful because I think that there is so much value in learning specific methods and techniques.
Yes.
So I don't want anyone to think I'm going like, okay, that's not.
Yeah, it's
disregard that.
yeah, it's not just like, oh, we're gonna be touchy feely and there's no process that you should worry about.
Right, and I because in you're just, I think honestly, to be blunt, you're not going to really improve in your practice over time in general if you hide from experimenting with different approaches.
Yes.
And if you refuse to learn technical aspects of
Right.
any skill, like that's necessary.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I'm not a believer in people, just being like, oh, just draw however you want to draw, and that's all you need to do. But as you're starting out, I do think it's really healthy to just, if you feel like the best way to get connected with the process is by using your fingers and smudging it up, then
Yeah.
go for it.
Yeah.
That's
a great, yeah. I was gonna say that's a great point, but then there's not actually a point. No, you're right. I think so. If I may try to interpret this, just to make sure I understand.
Yeah. I'm all over the place.
No, it's good. It's good. So you're not saying, hey, technique doesn't matter, learning a technique doesn't matter, or drawing well doesn't matter. You're saying that it's okay if you don't get it all at once.
Yes, right.
And it'll come when it comes, kind of thing.
Yeah, there's a time and a place for leveling up, getting specific, and being really concerned with technical aspects of the skill.
Right.
But
So each individual session, each individual drawing, nothing
yeah.
has to look a certain way.
Right.
You just come up with it after sort of a sum total of drawings.
I think so. I mean, to each their own, but we all kind of, once you're comfortable with the thing sort of in the beginning, then you can start experimenting more.
Right.
Because I think experimentation requires a certain degree of confidence, even if it's not long earned confidence,
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's experimentation that's informed by what you learned,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's just you throwing ingredients together and hoping there's a meal on the other end, right?
Yeah.
And we're talking about making meals, hopefully.
Yeah.
Just because I like food, and I'm going to use that as a metaphor for art.
That's a great metaphor.
So.
We should try to do the podcast with all like foodie metaphors.
Oh my God, that'd be wonderful.
We get very hungry.
Yeah, actually, yeah, we probably end up quitting soon. We need some food sponsors for the show. Brought to you by HelloFresh.
Yeah.
Actually, it's not brought to you by HelloFresh, by the way.
No, that's a joke.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind some sushi though.
Oh God, there's a new sushi place. Isn't there a new one here in the city? Wait.
Oh, I don't know actually.
Oh, let's not go off on a tangent. I'll look it up and I'll tell you later. I'm
Okay.
pretty sure. I thought I heard about a new place.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yes. Although we don't really get it out often because we have some Japanese friends that make it for the holidays and stuff, and we're very lucky.
That is wonderful.
Yes, yeah, he's like super particular about it too, and he drives like the day of. It's like it'll be like Christmas or something.
Really?
And he'll drive all the way to Jersey to get like the freshest, most specific fish. But yeah, that's a whole different thing.
Yeah, we should stop.
Yeah. But I mean, in a way, let's bring it to the show, because in a way, what he's doing is he has this really specific practice that for him works beautifully. I'm sure he could get this stuff locally, but this is the way that makes him feel good about the execution of this type of art, and it works for him. And who am I to get in the way of that? Like, I've never once said, dude, maybe you shouldn't drive to Jersey on Christmas to get us fish. I mean, as much as we appreciate it, that's his process. That works for him.
Yeah, for sure. I think that there's a lot to be said for how you feel when you're working.
Yes.
And if you're in a class or there's a teacher or an instructor or someone leading a session, or even online if you're taking some kind of drawing class, and it's mostly just making you feel like crap about your attempts at drawing.
Oh God.
Then you need to let go of that instructor or teacher or class or
Yes, because there's definitely a vein of that in art instruction, of just people who just want to like beat the hell out of you because they think somehow that's going to make you better. There was that movie with the drummer guy, I don't remember what the hell it was, but where like the whole premise was that this guy wanted to be a good jazz drummer, and like the guy teaching him was just terrible and just drove him to the brink of madness kind of thing.
Really?
Yeah, and I think there's like this idea that that's what you do for art. And I think, you know, if you're coming into a figure drawing session and you're that intense, you're gonna stand out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
Right? No one's there, you know, being that intense about figure drawing. They're just sort of there trying to figure out what's going on and not beating each other up.
Right.
So.
Right. And I mean, if someone's like intimidating you, or if the class you're trying to learn from is just not making you feel good about your practice, then, you know, take a break, or if you can, get out of that and try something else to make you be able to show up with more, you know, vigor and energy and interest in it. But that doesn't necessarily mean that what they're trying to teach is wrong. It just means that you're not ready for that dynamic.
Yeah, exactly. That's, I mean, there's this one guy who he has some of his courses online, and you know, his stuff is so intense. Like, he's an older guy, and he makes them. He's half of his lecture. It sounds like it's him half bragging about, I pushed this person, I pushed him, and everything was terrible until finally I broke through. And I'm like, maybe you didn't break through, dude. Maybe you just like you forced a lot of practice all at once by making them go on your terms and your time frame. And that might work for some people, just like forcing practice. You see it in advertising where there's this idea that, man, I'm going to talk numbers and I'm going to screw this up. But I think the idea is that you need to see an ad like 9 times before you're willing to buy. If you're just,
I think it's 7.
Okay, 7 times, but you ignore it, I forget, like 20 times. So you need to see it 27 times to get the 7 in.
Right.
And so in advertising, that's why you see the same ad run over and over and over on like one TV show. It's because they're trying to get those reps in. And you're like, this sucks, I just want to see the show. And I think there are some professors that run their classes like that. They're just going to throw an enormous amount of work at you with a very specific goal in mind. It has to look this way. Because people like us make work like this kind of attitude.
Yeah.
And I'm not so sure that I mean, I think you're right, that might work for certain people, but that would turn me off immensely. I would just be out the door.
Right. Yeah, I think it's not that any specific message is bad or any technique is not something you should learn, but it's that you need to gauge where you are at in your process and how appropriate what you're trying to learn from a certain person is for wherever you're at.
Right. What time is it, by the way?
It's 12:01.
12:01. Okay.
Do you want to do 5s?
Yeah, we'll do maybe 2 5s and we'll call it so that we have time for class. Because we are going to go straight into anatomy class after this. We're not pretending. We're actually doing the thing, I promise.
So we've talked a lot about what should it look like in terms of, you know, how do you feel about it, how relaxed you can be,
Yeah.
letting go, embracing the mess, allowing for mistakes. I think both kind of emotionally, intellectually, as well as technically. Maybe we should stress that a bit more. You know, what should it look like technically?
True, because I mean, there are some, like, if you're listening to this and you're like, okay, Mike and Mairin-taj, that's all well and good, but I genuinely want to like draw better, right? And there's some actual techniques and proportional canons and things like that that'll like make quick improvements to your work, right? Like the idea of a canon of proportions that says, you know, a leg is 4 heads tall if you measure vertically, an arm is 3 heads, things like that you can find online. I have, if you check my store, I have a thing called the Drawing Cheat Codes and an anatomy guide that lists all this stuff. I won't bore us with it now. But, you know, there are ways of checking your drawing so that if you're saying, you know, I really wanted to, like, what you're saying is great, I want to feel good about drawing and all that stuff, but I also want it to look good.
Yeah.
I want it to look realistic, whatever that means to you. And so there are things that you should give a shot while you're in figure drawing, right? Like, I'm not bringing attention to it, but I'm sort of doing these little measurements in my head as I'm doing this drawing, right? I know that this has to be 3 heads in comparison to the leg. I need to make sure that this is at least 1 head longer than the arm. And again, that comes to what you were saying with just practice. Like,
Yes.
my goal is to be able to reproduce a figure in a way that makes it believable, and proportions come into play, anatomy comes into play. But I'm also like, I'm more mindful, especially after working with you all these years, of like, that's not the be all and end all. I need to make sure that I'm not just doing measurements the whole time I'm drawing, and everything's technically great, but like, there's the process is not fun.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. Yeah, it's not, if your drawing needs to be all formulaic, then you might be missing a
Yeah.
yeah.
And maybe that's your thing.
Sure,
And if
yeah.
that's the case, I mean, like, I think if anybody takes anything else away from this, it should be this: is that there are lots of tried and true techniques, but you should also find what it is that makes you feel fulfilled
Yes.
in the studio.
Right. Right, and makes you, brings you back for more.
Yeah. That's a great point, because how many people have you met that we talked to that are like, yeah, I used to do figure drawing.
Right.
And you go, well, why'd you quit if you loved it so much? And you know, oh, life got in the way or whatever. And that happens, but I think often it's also just a frustration of feeling like I never got good at it, whatever that means to them.
Yeah. Chasing something.
Yeah. I mean, we do lots of shit that we're not like trying to be good at. We just do it for fun. Look at people doing karaoke. Like, they're clearly not trying to be good singers. So yeah.
And you're also, you talked about measuring, but you're also bringing experimentation in your own sketching over there, right?
I try.
You're exploring with, or you're allowing yourself to have marks not be necessarily exactly where they need to be.
Right. Yeah, especially when I do warm-up drawings every day, and with those are like way less. They're way more free-form.
Yeah.
And I just use whatever pen is at hand. It might be a paint marker, it might be an actual ballpoint pen, like whatever. Just something that's a little more unforgiving, so I have to not be fussy,
Yeah.
and experiment a little more. And if something goes wrong, just go with it.
Yeah, I think that's a good exercise, because even in like figure drawing with graphite and charcoal and erasers, students in the class can get very like, oh, there's a mark that I didn't get it where I think it needs to go. I have to erase it. I have to keep everything pristine.
Yes.
It's like, no, like use that. There's some tone on the paper. Maybe that will turn into a shadow at some point. Like,
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly right.
And that's, for me, that's a part of the kind of relax, let go that I'm talking about. It's
Right.
just, it's all right if there's stuff on the page.
Yeah, like not every single solitary drawing is of vast importance, right? Like,
Yeah.
All right, so we'll do one more and then we'll call it.
Okay.
So you're in a figure drawing studio, and you're thinking about what we said, right? You're just there to have fun. Don't worry about. Well, I shouldn't say that. You're not just there to have fun. You're there to work. But so is the main thrust of this thing that, like, if you're worrying about what it should look like, outside of trying to figure out a technique, then maybe you're overthinking it.
Yeah, I think you're trying to put the cart before the horse.
Okay.
Is that true? I don't know. I'm
Yes.
using that wrong.
Carp. No, it's good.
We all wrestle with that, we all want, there's that secret hope of, oh, I hope this looks cool, I want to feel proud of
Yes.
this, I'd like to, share this in a confident and rewarding manner at the end, but, just cut that desire off, And
Yeah, I mean, if it's there, it's there. That's
Yeah.
awesome. But if it's not there, you cut yourself some slack. And the answer to the question, what should this look like, is maybe just it should just look like progress.
yeah, right. Learning from the practice is the most important thing.
Yeah. Maybe what you should look at is a succession of drawings, not just one particular drawing going, what should this look like? I know when I went to actually I think they did this at my regular art school too, but I believe they did it at my governor's school thing I went to, and then later at where I got my degree, they had us do these self-portraits, and then from the beginning of the program, and then they held on to them and showed them to you at the end. Which I always thought like that's a good way to show that, you know, maybe in the moment it felt like you were failing, but over a period of time you got something out of the practice.
Yeah, you can see the growth. Yeah.
That laughing is a sign that we should probably cut the show off soon here.
Maybe what this should look like is something that you want to get back into next time.
That's it. Actually, that's a great way to put it. Oh my God, you're so smart. Yeah, like.
Which is obviously very subjective to everyone.
No, but if who cares then? Who cares what it looks like? As long as you're like, there's something here that I have to explore.
Yeah.
And there's more in the tank for next time.
Right. I mean that's why if I'm having a rough day, or if I'm not feeling it for whatever reason, or if I'm struggling for whatever reason,
Yeah.
I like to, even on a bigger project, I like to stop at a point in the process where I'm like feeling it. I'm like, oh, I'm really enjoying this. Okay, maybe I should stop. So
Really?
So when I have to go back to work, I'm back in the moment of like, I really like this.
Oh man.
Because if I stop where I'm like, fuck this shit,
Yeah.
then it's gonna be really hard.
Oh
to
no,
start
that's
over.
what I do. I'm always stopping when I'm like, fuck this drawing. That's not good.
And it's really, for me, it's really hard to start again. Then that's when, you know, procrastination comes in and you don't want to face
Oh
face
man.
the work again.
That's some deep stuff. Holy crap. So you're giving a drawing like the Irish goodbye. You're just like,
Yep.
middle of the party, everybody's still laughing, and you go, wait, where'd Mairin-taj go?
Yep, I'm out. This was great.
I love it. Okay. That's great advice.
I mean, it might mean that you're, you know, cutting your work hours for the day short, but if that gets you back to it the next day, as
Wow.
opposed to cutting, you know, getting all your work hours in, getting the right amount of time in for that day, and then, you know, not coming back to it for a week because it sucks.
Yeah, shit. So the answer to what this should look like is it should look like I'm gonna go have a beer and come back to this when I'm ready.
Yeah, I'm excited to get back at it. I want more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. I love that. I love that.
Cool. I think I figured it out.
I think you did. Holy shit. This might be better than the original show we lost.
Oh, I hope.
Yeah, thank you. That's great. By the way, I think I'm past the like F this drawing stage. I should have quit also because I'm not so sure I'm doing anything. Oh look, save buttermilk. All right. Well, that's it for today. That was a great show.
I hope so.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting the show. Our Patreon patrons get the show between a week and 10 days early. Eventually, we're probably going to open up the floor to taking questions. We did an actual live show last episode, which was fun.
That was great.
So yeah, if you want to support the show, I'll have links in the description below.
Yeah, please share to your friends or anyone you know who'd like to get some insight into the whole practice.
I think for the folks out there that are doing the whole wine and paint thing, they should just have the song in the background.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah. Mairin-taj, where can we find you if they don't feel like looking at the description?
Yeah, currently, for now, I'm on Instagram where I have linked all the other stuff that all needs updating, but you can find me on Instagram at studio_MAIR.
Awesome. And I'm Mike, and you can find me everywhere too. So Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting, and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks. Bye.